I had someone give me like a drink. I asked for a water, and they gave me a bottle, or not a bottle, a glass, and filled it with tap and handed it to me. And there were bugs in the glass. And I was like, thank you so much. Like, ooh, like I held it to my lips, like I wanted to take it and act like I drank it. And I sat down and I was like in it because I reverse engineered this. I'm like, this is the best practice. They're giving me this. I want to be receptive. We're seated. If I could go, and I guess for solar at the time, that was probably that. I think that house was, that could be worth anywhere from that company as low as 600 to me in commission to 3-4 grand, 5 grand, depending on the setup. If I'm thinking like, okay, if this goes well, this could be worth 4 grand. Would I sit on a couch that feels gross if I knew when I walked out I could have $4,000? I would sit like, it's not the coolest fear factor. Would you sit on this couch for 4 grand? But it's like, that's basically how I treated it, right? All right. Would you sit on this couch for $4,000? Yes, I'll sit on this couch. So
Yeah.
that just having that talk of like, this is a best practice and that's worth my discomfort to be in pursuit of doing this best. I kind of always hype myself up for that going in.
Yeah, that's good. But my question is, when dealing with pain, as we talked about earlier, I feel like I'm getting a lot better at asking questions and not paying attention in the moment to think of my next question. I'm doing a better job of being in the moment when I'm going through that. But I am having issues when it comes to personal stuff, as far as like divorce or death, because, asking, well, how long has that been going on, or how's that feel, or how's that been, I feel like can invoke a lot of negative emotions. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on if it's something very personal like that. I know we don't change the sales process, but how deep do we go? Do we ask the same questions? Do we kind of modify it, or just your thoughts on that?
The answer is going to be pretty much the sensation you're feeling of like, I don't want to go to that. I don't want to bring up negative emotions. It's just an equivalent of the same of like sitting on the couch. Like, do I really want to ask a question about this person's divorce? Like, no, same way I don't want to sit on this couch. But the pursuit of going into this thing, if it could be a best practice that results in a thing that gets me the deal and also helps the person, because now I'm going to reveal what's really going on and how I can really provide the right solution, and would bring up a pain that's relevant to the conversation. To preface this, I've talked about this before, but it's worth repeating as well. If the pain they're bringing up, us buying the home, does not solve, I don't want to spend very much time on there. If they're crying about the divorce, that has nothing to do with the house, I'm not going to spend time there, right? But if they're crying about the divorce and money paid for the house helps them move on with their life, and the divorce is the cause of that feeling stuck, well, then we're going into it. So I've talked before, like the cat dying, like I don't want to talk too much about the cat dying, because chances are me buying your house cash is not going to bring your cat. It's not going to fix your mourning your cat, but it could fix things like divorce, the death of the parent who you bought the house for, right? Things around that. If the pain that they're expressing, selling the house to me, or selling whatever it is, like whether it's homes, whether it's investments, because we got Arvin on the call here. I want to make sure we're respectful of his process here since he's raising private capital. Whatever the conversation is, if the thing they say, my product, my service, my solution can be a solution to that pain, that's when I want to go deeper into it. So keep an eye out for that, I would say. So there's that type of thing. So if they go, if I ask a question and they go like, yeah, I'm selling because I'm getting divorced. Well, we are asking questions around that divorce for sure. So the way to get into that, and the way to get someone to open up without ticking them off or opening up a can of worms, let's say, opening up that negativity where it becomes directed at you, is through tonality. It's through tonality, and almost entirely. If you want to, like, we've asked questions that seem insanely personal and private, but with how we say it alleviates the sort of negative jolt of emotion that could come out at me rather than about the person I'm talking about, because of how I'm asking the question, because I'm very intentional about how I ask something around pain. And if I ask something and I feel like I, started to step on a landmine, I pull back in some way and ask another question around. I don't totally move on, but I try and be like, hey, like I also ask caveat, like there's caveats I've given in trainings before, like if you don't mind me asking, right? Like things like that. I gotcha, you know, off the record, just little things that help people feel for some reason more comfortable answering that type of question. There are little tricks around that. So if you don't mind me asking is to me the ultimate hack. I talked about before when I was selling life insurance, the question was like, what's going to be like for you if what's going to be like for your family if you don't come home tomorrow? I had people get mad at that question. They're like none of you, who are you? Like they didn't even know what I was going to be doing when I got them on Zoom. Like they thought I was going to be talking about some other benefit for the company I was at. Not, and I don't recommend anyone work at that company, but like that was the process. So I had to get people comfortable answering that question. The way to do that was like, hey, if you don't mind me asking, if you know, God forbid the worst were to happen, have you thought about what it would be like for your family if you actually don't come home tomorrow? Right? So it's like, if you don't mind the worst should happen, have you thought about what it would be like for your family if you don't come home tomorrow? Not, if you die, right? Like, so there's things around that, right? So other things as well, that easing of a question. Have you had a conversation about that? It's intentionally a closed off question, right? I'm usually open-ended questions rather than closed off questions. But it can run the risk if I'm asking a question around something that's a hot button topic. I want to ease my way into it. So it might be a closed off question that leads into an open one. So like, gotcha, you guys are going through it softens it. Exactly. Yeah. It softens it, follow the question is open-ended. For instance, we're talking about divorce. Gosh, you know, you guys are fighting over, that sounds really tough. I guess, have you had a conversation with your kids about home? The easy thing to be like, yeah, we talked about it. Gotcha. And again, if you don't mind me asking, how did that conversation go? Right? I've now made it open-ended, but I had, rather than, what was the conversation like for your kids about you guys getting a divorce? You're an investor trying to buy my home? What are you doing asking that question? But I've eased my way in.